In the past, I've had multiple successful eBay stores which have made me hundreds, if not thousands of pounds every single day. But with me now having to start a new eBay account, I have the perfect opportunity to document what a new person starting on eBay can do if they do everything correctly. This video is going to document how much money I was able to make in a 7-day period selling on eBay, starting from an absolute beginner. So if you enjoy videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe so I can share more videos like these with you in the future. Let's get on with it and talk about the results though. First, let's talk about what I did to set the store up. So just like anything, you need to set up an eBay shop. I did this fairly easily. All you need to do is set up your account, create some payment details so that you can have money going in and out for fees and also to get paid, and then you can essentially set your store up. From there, the process was pretty easy. I had a complete account, a clean account with zero feedback and nothing else. So here we have a bit of an interesting opportunity. The problem with this account is that we have zero feedback, which may make it quite unappealing to buyers. And even though we're trying to run a legitimate business here, think about it. As a buyer, you'd rather buy from someone who has 100 feedback or 1,000 feedback than somebody who has only zero feedback, because it could be a scam or anything like that. So first we want to try and build up our feedback. Now fortunately for us, this can be done very easily, and I was able to do this by purchasing just a small few items that I actually wanted anyway. So for me, I've just bought a new phone. I bought a screen protector for the phone and a case for the phone and another screen protector because the initial screen protector didn't even fit. But all of this brought us up to 3 feedback. Obviously it's not great, and all of these feedbacks are from buying, not selling, but it starts to give us some validity and legitimacy on the platform. Once we've done that, I left it a couple of days just so that we could get the account sort of warmed up and prove that it's legitimate, and then I started uploading items. Now, even though it took about an hour or two to set up the eBay account and buy the items and all that kind of stuff, I'm not going to classify this as a full day of eBay reselling, as we haven't listed any items yet. Where things start to get interesting though is from the point that we start to list our items. So let's go on to talk about what happened there with the results from day 1. So day 1 was actually pretty decent. It did a lot better than you'd expect. When it came to what I wanted to list, I had 2 different methods which I was going for with this shop. I wanted to list things that I wanted to sell because I have them laying around, but I also wanted to try the drop shipping method. Now I can do this by getting items to people in less than 7 days. That way it's a fairly reasonable time and most people won't complain about that, so that's fairly easy to do. So I got everything listed onto the site and I started out by doing 5 listings on the first day. Now fortunately I had a few listings up which I wasn't really paying attention to previously, but on the first day because of this we got a sale on the shop. I sold 1 pair of jeans and this was for a grand total of £20. So already we've made £20 selling on eBay in our first day. But where we get to day 2, things start to become even more interesting. So day 2 of selling on eBay. Now we're getting into the swing of things, and this is a big thing which I need to tell everybody about. Every single day that you sell on eBay, it's important to list new items. It shows the algorithm that you are still active. So I try and list 5 items every single day of this experiment. By about 11 AM, I'm done listing all of the items for the day. 5 listings completed, fairly easy and fairly quick. Again, I do have some prior experience, but this is stuff that anybody can learn. Anyway, within 5 or 10 minutes of me listing these items, just out of sheer luck, I got an offer on an item that I was selling. I was selling this item for £45, but I got an offer of £30, a £15 reduction, but it still made me a profit of £10. So I classified this as a win and I took the offer and the buyer paid for the item. So that is our second day and we have made a sale of £30, a profit of another £10 and a grand total for the 2 days so far of £30 because the jeans that I got were for free and I made £10 on my sale of the item. Let's look at what happened on day 3. So of course the results of day 1 and 2 were fairly interesting, and to make sales is obviously better than to not. But if we want this video to be interesting and if we want to make the money that we actually want to make, we had to bump this up, and that's exactly what I tried in day 3. Day 3 I went in hard and I listed not 5 items but 10 items or more. Actually today I listed 11 items in the morning. That way they have all day to sit there. I've activated the algorithm early on, and again again, I've listed 10 extra items, which means that we're going to get extra views. And I must say, this has translated into more views for today, with this being the most viewed day by a considerable margin. It's looking like things are going well in terms of impressions and views, but there is a downside. This is a day where we haven't made a single sale. What I will say though is we did get an offer for an item to be sold, but I was not going to accept it at all, because when I looked at what the offer was and what the price for the item was, it was a £135 item, that's what I'm selling it for, and somebody offered me for it £10. That's pretty ridiculous, and if you ask me, quite rude, but with that being said, it was an offer. So I've not taken that, and now we're coming into the late part of the day, probably about 9 o'clock at night right now, and yeah, it's looking like we're not going to make a sale for tonight. But I will say, we are getting more impressions, we are getting more views, and whilst today's one of those days, especially, somebody starting out from the perspective of a newbie, it seems quite depressing because we've had all these views and all these eyes on us, and it's like, are we doing something wrong? Of course, we can then at the end of the experiment look at what's gone right, what's gone wrong, why we got views and no sales, and why we got sales and less views, all that kind of stuff, but we'll do that towards the end. But what I will say from my perspective and for the perspective of others who are genuinely salting only for the first time, this is a case of, this is what happens sometimes. But remember, whilst we are after a interesting video here, we're also after starting a sustainable long-term business, and sometimes it's about winning the race or the battle, winning the war and not the battle, that's what I'm trying to say. So yes, today we've not made a sale, but we are building our impressions, we're building our views, and we're building our catalogue of items, which is ultimately going to make our store more long-term sustainable. And if we are able to maintain uploading 5 to 10 items a day, I think in the next few days, towards the end of the experiment, and definitely in the next 30 days, we're going to have amazing results. But that's what we've seen on the end of day 3. I'll check in with you guys tomorrow to let you know what happened on day 4. So due to being a little bit busy in the last couple of days, I haven't been able to film the days 4, 5 and 6 of this video. So I want to compile it all into one small section talking about what happened over those 3 days. Now of course we'll start with day 4. Day 4 was probably one of the most uneventful days of the entire journey. On day 4, I continued to list items. I did get over 10 items on that day, and it took me about an hour or so to do that. It wasn't too bad, but day 4, despite my trying, saw no increase in views. My views figure started to go down, my impressions figure started to go down, which was quite disappointing considering that I'm still trying, and I was still trying my best to list as many items as possible. So I wasn't too sure as to why that was. However, even when I was running my first store, which did amazingly well in the end, I did see this trend happen sometimes. You think you're doing well, then one day comes out of nowhere where you get 25% less impressions or something, and you think, what am I doing wrong? But I decided to continue with that path and just see where we went. Also, we didn't make any sales on day 4, and then into day 5, I started to see the views figures bump up. Now, what I did start to do is start to list the items earlier in the day. As I said before, I think it's pretty obvious at the minute that eBay does like to bump up sellers who are known to sell items and list new items regularly and be active on the platform, but I decided to best maximize this. I wanted to list items as early as possible. Now fortunately, the best hours for me to do work on this sort of stuff are between the hours of say 10 at night and 2 in the morning. So about 12 PM or 12 AM rather, I would list up the new items and I'd be ready for the new day. Maybe do a couple more in the day if I wanted to get extra on. So that's what I did on day 5, and I did start to see the impressions climb again. We still didn't make a sale on this day, but I did get a new offer, which was for one of the items which I sold for £65, that was the actual selling price. Somebody offered me for it £25. And we did some back and forth haggling, but unfortunately the item wasn't able to be sold as the person didn't want to pay the price that I could do for it, and I wasn't going to take a loss on the item or even a very minuscule profit. Because what you have to remember here, guys, is when you're a small seller which doesn't have any feedback or barely any feedback, eBay may side with a buyer, and also sometimes buyers do like to take advantage of small sellers. So if you got less than 10 feedback, I'd always be a bit careful of people buying huge orders off you or big products, because again, oftentimes you don't have enough feedback to kind of show eBay that you're a legit seller, and if you don't update tracking or for whatever reason otherwise, eBay may take the side of the buyer even if it's unfair or incorrect. So for that reason, when it comes to actually making sales, I want to make sure that I'm making a decent profit so that the risk to reward would be worth it if in theory anything was to go wrong. So I didn't get that sale on that day, but we did start to see the impressions climb up again. Now day 6 was a lot better. I started to list even more items, around 12 this day as well, and I saw the impressions climb to a new high. For a little bit of context, my impressions number for the day, the previous day was 47. So far today on day 6, we're about 10 PM at night, and my impressions are 75. So a massive increase in impressions, which is good. We still don't have the option to turn promoted listings on yet, which is a shame. But what I will say as a very good thing is, one of the people who bought an item from us originally has given us some positive feedback. So as I think I've said before in this video, again, I've been filming this over a few days, I bought 2 products on eBay, and now I've got 1 feedback for one of the items which definitely has arrived. So that gives me a lot more credibility. As I always say, if you are a seller, having seller feedback, as in feedback from buyers, is in my opinion a lot more important than feedback from being a buyer, because it shows that you have got that air of trustability. And maybe that's why my impressions have jumped up significantly today. I hope so. They weren't doing too well before I put today's listings up, and I did that about 7 PM just because I didn't have the time for it. But yeah, they've massively spiked today, which is obviously a good thing to see. So hopefully that continues, and we'll see what happens on the last day of this challenge. Tonight I'm filming the final part of this series. It is day 7, and I have some new stuff to report on. So after days 5 and 6 and even day 4, I didn't think this video was going to be too impressive. I thought we were going to have our first 2 sales in the first couple of days of the week, and that was going to be all that we saw. I thought that's a really boring topic for a video. However, being as I was already doing 10 listings anyway, I thought I'd make the experiment unrealistic to move up to 20 listings, 30 listings, 40 listings to try and get more sales. Because if we're honest, most people haven't got the time to do that, so then I wouldn't even be filming a replicatable or realistic experiment. So with that being said, I decided to carry on listing 10 a day, and when I woke up this morning, I got a new message. Your buyer has paid, meaning an item has sold. Not an offer's come in, something has been paid for. It was one of the items that I listed up for $69.99, so a pretty significant sale. That's a good amount of revenue, and that brought us in an extra £16 worth of profit roughly. So let's talk about what I did this week, how much we actually made as a total in terms of revenue, in terms of profit, and ultimately what happened, how I did it, and would I repeat this experiment again, and would I recommend that you guys start an eBay business. So, first I'll give you what you're all waiting for, the breakdown of the figures. Let's talk about that first. So when we break down the figures, we have some pretty decent figures. Now again, you will know that from watching this video, but I have to remind myself, because I've been filming it every single day, this has only been a week. So in a week, we've been able to generate about £120 worth of revenue. And that's our first trading week, not week 10, week 1. That's not bad. That's been over 3 sales. Now when we talk about the actual profit for that, we get figures a little bit different. Our profit figure is just over £40 for the first week, which to be honest is not bad. As I've said before, for somebody like me who doesn't yet have my qualification of a degree, that would be 4 extra hours of work if I was to work in a job for £10 an hour. Now, what I'm saying here is, this is not bad. And I know some people are going to say, well, that's a week worth of time, and you probably spent like an hour a day. It wasn't really worth it, because you got paid less than £10 an hour. That is obviously true for the first week, because I had to spend 7 hours, which, you know, equates to a bit less. But let's understand one thing here. It's like I spoke about in our business video. This is not about a 1-week experiment. Obviously the video topic is, but let's talk about the wider picture here. People often look at the first week or 2 with anything. I've said this loads of times. Whether we're talking about running this YouTube channel or creating, eBay listings, people think that week 1, 2, 3, month 1, 2, 3, 4 is the results that you're going to see forever. And it's not. From someone who's ran an eBay shop before, I have to say, first things first, 3 sales in a week is brilliant. My first month on eBay, I think I made like 5 or 6 sales in the whole month on my other account. So to do 3 in a week, obviously extrapolating those figures, we're going to see much better results, which I'll also document in a 30-day video of this style. But yeah, what I'm saying here is, the first week might seem like it's not really amounted to much. Again, not that much in terms of actual profits, but it's extra money coming in, it's not hard to get, and also, we're talking about building a long-term sustainable business here. Now, as I said, we have got some positive feedback on the account now, and subsequently the views figures appear to be coming up. So alongside making a sale today, I've also had an extra offer. This was an offer for £15 for one of the items I had listed. Now the minimum I want to take for this item is 29, so I've sent that offer in as a return, and I'm not necessarily saying that we're going to make a sale, but I think it proves a wider point. People are now paying attention to the shop as it gets pushed out more and more, and we're going to see higher conversion rates because of our, higher reliability in terms of positive reviews, in terms of feedback as a whole, in terms of sale numbers made. These are all items of social proof which will help the shop in the long term. So I'm really happy about the results that we've seen, and I think this is a start of another great experience with eBay if it is able to be sustained. That's both by me, but also I said before about the fact that one of my accounts has been banned. Will I be able to keep this account open? Anyway, what else I would say about this experiment is it is worth anybody trying to start for a few reasons. One, eBay reselling and reselling in general is one of the easiest businesses that you can start. We don't even necessarily have to own the products. We can even dropship the products depending on what platform we're on. This is an important thing to note. So of course read up by yourself on terms and conditions. So that's just an umbrella term of reselling. One of the easiest businesses I can think to start. Again, especially if you're doing dropshipping, zero startup capital required oftentimes, not really much to risk. All you have to do is invest a couple hours of your time. And again, that's probably not too hard to amass either. So yeah, it's been a really good experience. Again, I've said it before, I've sold on quite a few platforms, eBay obviously being one of them, Etsy being one of them, and I have to say in my experience I've done the best with eBay. It seems to be a lot less restrictive than Amazon, where you have to get permission to sell all different sorts of things, and you seem to get much better impressions and generally a wider market than you do on Etsy, which obviously presents more selling opportunities. So I definitely would recommend eBay reselling and reselling in general. In terms of what I would resell, this is what people need to get straight, okay? Because I have this all the time. Like I said, this is not my first rodeo with eBay. I've had another eBay shop in the past, and when I tell my friends and family members about how I was making $10,000 a month on eBay, people often say, what did you sell to do that? Because I want to start it again. And I always say to these people, there is really no point asking me what I was selling. It doesn't matter. What I was selling then and what I'm selling now is different. How I was selling things then and how I'm selling things now is also different. A true business person will be able to adapt to the market, not try copy off somebody else's success. If I've got an established business selling one thing, it's established. You have to compete with me and everybody else on the platform. So to say, what did you sell, what industry were you in, what sector were you in, it doesn't matter. We can talk about statistically and generally speaking the highest earning sectors in terms of items to sell, and the ones that get the most sales, but realistically that doesn't matter too much. This is what people need to understand. So there's no real point in telling you what I was selling per se. It's just about telling you that I was reselling stuff, and ultimately, yeah, it was easy, it was fun. Again, an hour a day. We're talking about a business which I know for a fact that with 2 or 3 hours a day, when it starts to grow, can scale up to well over £5,000-10,000 a month in revenue. And in my experience before, that's generated between £1.5 and maybe £4,000 a month in profits. So fairly easy. In terms of all of the businesses that I've tried, I'm going to give eBay and reselling as a whole a solid A tier, to be honest. The reasons for that, some of which I've already outlined. Cheap startup cost, pretty easy to get started. There's a lot of stuff that you can resell, whether it be around the house or just items in general that you could dropship. Not really much to risk because again, all you lose is time, and especially if you're selling items around the house, that's true, or dropshipping. And again, it's one of the easiest things that anybody can do. You don't really need any skill. All you need is a phone with a camera on it and maybe access to the internet. Well, obviously access to the internet, and maybe a laptop or a computer as well. So this is the first video of this very style that I've been filming, where I actually document the day-by-day process. I hope it's made it a more interesting watch for you guys with different camera angles and different views per day. But what I'm saying here is, I'm going to be making more videos of this style, and I've made videos of this style in the past. I'm trying all different sorts of hustles for 7 days. As you'd imagine, with it being a 7-day trial, I can only make videos of this style once every 7 days if I want to make it a genuinely authentic video. So this is sort of a once a week or once every 2 weeks thing, depending on what I'm trying and how it's going and all that sort of stuff. Obviously there's a lot of editing that goes into it as well, alongside actually running the little side hustle as well. So when we combine those two things together, it takes a while to film videos like this, but I hope you do enjoy them and I hope you do find them useful and educational. If you do, please do subscribe. But yeah, eBay and reselling is definitely a solid A tier for being so easy, especially compared to some of the other things that we've tried, like sort of day trading and all that kind of thing, where you actually need to have a genuine skill. This is something that really anybody can do. All you need is access to the internet and pictures. And that's it really, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching it through till the end. If you enjoyed it, of course do share it for me and like and subscribe and all that kind of good stuff, and I hope to see you in our next one. In the meantime though, I do recommend that you get eBay reselling or reselling as a whole, because it is one of the easiest businesses that you can start. Just find your niche, find a platform that works for you. Again, eBay is one that I'd recommend, but Amazon is also fairly good and Etsy is also fine depending on what you're selling. So find the platform that works, and also, just have fun with it. Don't take it too seriously, and ultimately understand that the results for the past, or the first week or two or three, or the first 2 months aren't going to be the results that you're seeing for the long term. If you keep listing up items, if you keep scaling up the business, you're going to see better results over time, and that's one of the things that I'd say to anybody, because people seem to quit fairly easily, not knowing that the business will grow if you keep it going. So with that being said, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in our next one. Goodbye for now.